Yo guys, what is going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys Eden Zero chapter 269 live stream discussion slash review. The last chapter of 2023. And this is an interesting chapter to end off the year on. I have to say that right now. This is an interesting chapter to end off the year because it says a lot in more ways than one. But let's dive into the actual chapter first in order for me to explain, like the answer I'm just giving y'all right now. So we start off with this cover page, a beautiful cover page. You see Homura in like modern outfit. She's like looking over at a sail. And actually, interestingly enough, you can tell that it's kind of Christmas time because they have a Christmas tree in the background. Kind of got the Merry Christmas on the side, and that's kind of something Heroes kind of done in the past too. Like I think even as far back as Rave Master, like if you look at like some of like the cover art that you get in the chapters, I think there's a bit of like Christmas like kind of sprinkled in here and there in the you know cover pages. But that said, so the chapter title is called Swords Dance 269. And pretty much we're in the aftermath now. The aftermath stages of the fight between Witch and Wizard. And she contacts the Hermit. This is Witch, granting approval to use the Eden Zero emergency shutdown code. And Hermit's, incorporating that in. And she says, now we just need you, Valkyrie. Hurry. And we see like the dragons from God Acnollea, like as she's like raining down on the ship. But you've still got some fighters coming in to take out what's being there. You've got Laguna. Actually, no, Laguna's still deal. Laguna already's done with the thing. My bad. You got Jin. Jin's here. There are too many dragons. I keep taking them out, but they just keep coming. And then you got Clean. Homura and hurry and beat Acnollea. And I love the shot you see over here. You've got the shot of Homura on one side, and then you've got Valkyrie on one side. See, it's like a comparison and contrasting situation where you've got Hermit saying her piece to Valkyrie, like, "Hey, let's try to get this done so we can activate the shutdown sequence," and then likewise, you got Homura's end of things too from Shin and Clean on, hey, we got to stop Acnollea right here, right now. So it's a nice little comparison. And you know what they always say? It's the mentor-student connection, which is really great, in my personal opinion. But yeah, they're both saying, I'm trying. And going like, however, combat from within a starfighter puts me at a great disadvantage. "'Tis all or nothing," is what Homura says as she's like looking over at Acnollea. And she starts to like open the hatch. And Valkyrie notices this and says, "Homura, wait, what are you?" And she delves straight into overdrive. Homura activates her overdrive form. She leaps forward. And Valkyrie's like, "What are you thinking? It's not possible for a human to survive in space." But Homura says this. Hermit said that there is a chance that one can endure any environment while in overdrive state. I wish to gamble on that chance, so that I may win. You see a little bit of sweat that's coming off of Valkyrie, and even so, you see a little bit of struggle on Homura then too, like as she's getting like the sweats and she thinks back to this moment between her and Valkyrie. I don't feel, I don't I don't like feeling hot. And Valkyrie's like, this is part of your training, Homura. Be brave. That's the first step. To becoming a great, to becoming a sword fighter is what young Homura says. As we go back in time, not go back, as we flash forward, back to where we were, That is what you taught me. You see a smile on Valkyrie's face, and then Brigadine's there. I see. So she's your student. Which catches her attention. She says, thought she was. But she's suddenly all grown up. The fight ensues between the. Which, I'm still kind of curious as to what their dynamic is. Like, I know the big theory is that, okay, you've got Hermit and Killer, which was like the student or like the senior and junior dynamic. That's what they had. And with Ivory and Clown, it was that one was the doctor, one was the patient. You got that. And then with Witch and Wizard, I mean, they were a couple just right off the gate. We got that. Now, these two, we've always seen them just together at the beach. So, kind of makes me wonder, like, is this like bro and sis dynamic, or is this like something else? You know? Like, is this a case where they probably not do, but they probably did like have a thing like 20,000 years in the past. That because that is something I kind of wondered if Hero was going to dive into it. Maybe we will get that. Maybe because this whole dynamic is still kind of up in the air. At least what their whole uh, what's it called? Like their relationship goes. Like, is theirs platonic? Is it non platonic? Like that's my thing. Like I'm pretty sure there's a high probability that it's in the romantic category. But I wouldn't put it past Hero to maybe say, yeah, no. Like it would be cool to have them all as couples, but no, let's differentiate, like the Shining Stars and their Dark Star counterparts, and like how they all like sync with one another, you know. But they're clashing. And Valkyrie says, "Homura is watching. I better not embarrass myself." Just as Homura is about to take on Acnollea, I see. You are a human who is not afraid to take risks. Homura says, "Call off your dragons." And then she says this: "When your overdrive ends, you will die. I will slay you before that," is what Homura says. I see you don't understand the power of the Mother of Dragons. As Acnoel summons out one of the dragons, she notices. But even so, Homura does what Homura does best. He uses her blade. You are not the Mother of Dragons, for you were once Elsie's mother. And I'm not gonna lie, this shot was actually really, really cool. I love how Homura is like, you know, taking like no shit at all. She's like going like, you know what? No, I'm doing this right here, right now. And it don't matter to me what's happening. They're being taken down. Especially that, you know. Uh, let me see. For your once Elsie's mother. Acnoel is even kind of taken aback. Like, what? You are the mother of a human. Got this nice, beautiful, again, compare and contrast. Like, it's not the same as the other panel where you've got like a split between Homura and Valkyrie. You got two separate panels here, but again, it shows like the synchronization between master and apprentice. You've got Homura using warrior made single sword attack, and likewise Valkyrie doing the same thing. Warrior made single sword attack. It catches Brigandine off guard. You've got again Homura pulling out the stops. All the stops. Same thing with Valkyrie. Dragon Flash. And essentially what happens is that Brigandine and Acnoel get they get what's the word I want to use here? They get defeated. They get defeated. A lot of people want to say one-shotted. Argument could be made about that too, but let's be fair. This fight has been going on for ages. But between the two of them, like it's not necessarily that they just started the fight and it's like you know done. Like the thing that a lot of people, as far as my understanding goes, because I have seen people going like, bro, we come back to the fight and we're already done. Like, bro, this is so dumb. Actually, let's flash back to the actual arc, okay? Because looking at this, because this is called the Eden's One War arc, right? So if we look back at when this arc started, not even when it started, but primarily the chapter itself, and that's going to be the key thing, is the chapter by itself. So let's look at when this actually started, which was, I want to say 261? No, not even 261. All the way back. I feel like it was further back than this. It was way, way further back than that. Let's see here, 257. It might have been 257. If it wasn't 257, then I am pretty damn sure. Okay, it is 257. So 257 is when this whole exchange has been happening between the two. Their fight has been going down since then. Okay? So the Brigandine fight by itself is not exactly something where, it's like, oh man, we just started the fight. The fight's kind of, well, in lack of better words, shitty. It's not that at all. Because, again, what chapter was this? 257. I'm looking at this chapter right now. 257 is when this fight started. Now, when the fight happens with Homura, I want to say happens in 258. Or at least that's when it's about to start off. Like, an argument could be made for... Yeah, because the thing about this, particular, Acnollea, yeah, an argument could be made that the fight with Homura and Acnollea just started. That one I can see. The fight between Brigandine and Valkyrie, that's a whole different case because that fight's been going on since 257. Now, the thing about this is that we've only been seeing like little glimpses here and there of the battle between Brigandine and Valkyrie. It hasn't really been like a super heavy focus until like this chapter, which again I can kind of get the argument from people going like, man, like that's how we're taking out Brigandine. But again, keep it in mind, it's a fight we haven't really gotten a lot of focus on because a lot of our attention has been like on other stuff, which that's not on Hero's fault, by the way. I know a lot of people want to say, "Oh man, like, well, what is Hero doing?" He's trying to, paying, more focus on the plot, the story per se. That's been Hero's main drive, and I can back that up 100%. Even going as far back as Raven Master. The thing about Hero is that all his attention is always focused on the story and where the characters go. That's always been his center of attention. And the same thing can be said here. But here's the thing. When you have a huge cast of characters, and especially like trying to dedicate each time and effort to like the members of the Eden Zero crew, like it's one of those cases of like you gotta pick your battles. Essentially, that's what it is. It's like one of those like scenarios where you gotta pick your battles and decide which one, where are you going to spend the most focus on. Essentially, that's the case. But again, it's not necessarily that Hero has been subsiding the Valkyrie and Brigandine fight. We've been seeing it like in like, let's say breadcrumbs, but it's kind of been Long story short, I'll just say this: we've been getting in like breadcrumb trails, like here and there, small little chunks. Best way I can describe that. So personally, to me, I think it works out. I personally think it does. But let's see here. Yeah, like I said, Acnollea, I can understand. That part is a little frustrating for sure. But this could also be a case of like, well, when you look at Acnollea in, you know, in the Lindered war arc per se, it's kind of the same thing. And is it disappointing? Yeah, but it is just one of those cases though. Keeping in mind also that we've still got a couple other Aration's Galactica members, I believe, right? Let me see. Going all the way back to the characters. Because Cure's still around. Yeah, no. Cure's still there, which has me a little curious as to. Okay, yeah. The fact that Cure's there kind of has me thinking, like, what exactly do we have for Cure? That's my thing. What exactly is there for Cure? Let's see, because the only people that are still left is Dead and Crow. Not Dead and Crow. Yeah, it's Cure. Cure is the one who's still around. There's one more person I'm missing. Who else is? Oh yeah, and Lady Freya. She's the only other one that's still there. So, because let's see, Lightning Law's already taken out. You've gotten rid of Muller. Acnolea's gone too. So there's only two other people you got left. So you got Cure, and then you got Freya. Those are the only two people that are left in the Horatio Says Galactica numbers. And that's kind of where my curiosity stems from on this with Eden Zero. Is that the way I look at it from a writing standpoint is, yeah, we are familiar with these other characters. It's kind of one of those things like, well, we've seen them already. How much more focus and attention do we actually need to spend on them? You know, it's one of those scenarios that I can explain. Having said that, is it a shame that Acnollea kind of gets the same treatment that she did in Universe 3? Sure, it is. But if it's to make way and give more spotlight and credence to, Lady Freya, hey, I'm fine with that. Okay, if we're leading this down to giving more spotlight and attention to Lady Freya, that's fine. And I mean, I will say this: I know a lot of people weren't super big on what happened with Joker Helix, but Joker Helix is not exactly gone. Okay, Joker Helix is going to make a comeback at some given point. That is something that will occur. When that will happen, though, I've got no idea. And first of all, let me just say this right now: Void and Ziggy still currently going on. And with that fight happening, y'all know my stance on this. I don't think Ziggy's making it out alive. No. Like, if anything, Void is gonna be what Acnollea was in Fairy Tail. Like, if not the final fight per se, I'm not gonna bring that up. But if you look at specifically what happened in Tartarus between Igneel and Acnollea, the end result of that fight, I feel like we're gonna get something similar again here between Void and Ziggy. And it only makes sense because, let's be fair, Void having the time ether ability, shoot, dude. Like, having Leaper is like, having gravity is one thing. But having the Leaper ability too? I mean, shoot. One of them by itself is already kind of an issue. Not an issue per se of like strength and ability, that's what I mean. But having them both together, like it's gonna be interesting to see how exactly that confrontation goes down between Shiki and Void. When that eventually does happen. But we're not talking about that necessarily. We're talking about this in particular. But going forward, so you get the Dragon Flash, and yeah, so Acnollea taking the beating, Brigandine getting kind of been taking a beating too. And right as this happens, and keeping in mind about this isn't Homura in base form. This is Homura in overdrive form. There's that. But see what happens. And it's like a very quick instance. It's not like she's in overdrive form for too long. She's only in overdrive for like a brief period of time. That's it. So that happens with Homura. She reverts back. Valkyrie notices, grabs Homura, brings her back to the ship. And then Homura says, "Teacher, you never cease to impress." And Valkyrie notes that now. Like, that last stroke of yours was better than mine. As that happens, we cut back to Hermit. "Valkyrie, hurry. I know I just sent you the code." And as that goes down, we cut back to the timer. There's 3 minutes and 42 seconds. 4 Shining Star codes confirmed. Activating overdrive sequence. Eden Zero shutdown. Now we can stop the self-destruct program. And that is essentially how the chapter ends. As we see this final panel with Eden Zero about to hit shutdown mode, and you have like the dragons like fall. So, given all that, what is my thoughts on this chapter of Zero? I mean, look, the last few chapters we have been kind of focusing really heavy on like Shiki and Rebecca. Ziggy popping in too was like a huge ordeal. Not even just that, but Regret and Leonard. The whole 20,000 years in the past. All that stuff's been like great. And actually, that's the thing. Because I would have figured us getting this between Brigandine and Valkyrie, I would have figured Hero would have thrown in like maybe one little shard of, the 20,000 years in the past. And who knows? Maybe that's something we could still get between them in the future, because we're not done yet with that. Like, whatever happened 20,000 years ago, we're still going to get that. I mean, because that's a really, really significant plot point. And I feel like it's something we are going to get within the next chapter. If not the next chapter, next few. 100%. But the big highlights for me when it comes to this chapter, I mean, I do like the correlated efforts between Valkyrie and Homura, even though, like, again, they're like on separate playing fields in terms of like their enemies. I do like how like the sequence of events were being presented, where you got one end with Homura and you got one end with Valkyrie, and I think they both worked out well for the most part. And again, the end result fight with Brigandine, I'm fine with, because that fight, while yes, it hasn't been the huge center of attention since it started, but that has been going on for 11 chapters. Again, within those 11 chapters, not a whole lot of spotlight per se on Valkyrie versus Brigandine, but as a conclusion, I'm okay with that fight. The Acnollea fight, again, I get the explanation behind it, and it wasn't Homura like taking on Acnollea in base form. It was through overdrive form. So I get that. The way the fight was presented, like, as in terms of the fight by itself, I think it's fine, but the problem stems in execution. Like, I feel like if this was spread over, say, maybe like 3 or 4 chapters, and then you get to the end result of that fight, I think it probably would have been better, in my personal opinion. But it's okay. Like the Acnollea fight, is it a letdown? Sure. It's not bad necessarily. Because when you see the sequence of events and how it goes down, because let's see here. Looking at the fight. So I'm analyzing the fight again more clearly. Again, because you got Brigandine and Valkyrie, which is fine. But looking over at Homura and Acnollea, if you look closely, like there is a struggle clash that happens with Homura and Acnollea. It's not necessarily that like that she goes in and like just destroys her like right off the gate, because you do see the clashes like happening like relatively quick. And of course, again, this is while Homura is in overdrive. So you're taking out the dragon, which is, in my opinion, pretty cool. But yeah, the thing is, the whole thing stems down from the fact that like you only have like a few clashes between Homura and Acnollea, and then one strike is all it takes. Which I do believe there should have been a little bit more of a struggle. Admittedly, sure. But if I had to rank the fight per se, Valkyrie versus Brigandine, I will say it was a great fight. Homura versus Acnollea, the most I'll stretch it is okay. It's okay. It's not horrible. It's just okay. But again, the real highlight for the chapter for me does stem from just the synchronization between Homura and Valkyrie, and also just that little flashback sequence too between Valkyrie and Homura, like from the past. And again, both trying to like do whatever they can to take out the enemy that's like right in front of them. So the whole message of what this chapter is trying to accomplish, and it accomplished it. Yes. One hand they worked out really well. Another one could have used a little bit more improvement. Definitely. But all that's left now, if you really look at it, at least for the Shining Stars, the only one that's left is Hermit. And Killer's the only Dark Star that's remaining. Now, the other thing I want to note here is Brigandine taken out altogether. I mean, yeah, he got attacked, he got defeated. I don't think that's the end of Brigandine, though. I really don't, because I do feel like we're gonna get something else with Brigandine. I feel like we're gonna get something else within the coming chapters. I do feel because Hero does acknowledge the connection between Valkyrie and Brigandine. Now, as to what that connection is, we got no idea, and that's kind of something I am keen to know about. But overall, my thoughts on this chapter of Eden Zero: is it pure perfection? No, it's not pure perfection. It would have been amazing to some extent, but I don't even think. But it kind of lowers stuff even from that, just based on how Homura versus Acnollea turned out. I would say this chapter is good plus, borderline great. That's where I would put it. So for the most part, I would say it's like a good plus chapter. It ends off on a decent note for the year, for sure. And where we go next for the next chapter for 270, I've got no idea. I'm curious, and we're far from over. Let me just say that right now. We are far from over with Eden Zero. Because, keeping in mind about this, there are. I'm drawing a blank now. Because we're starting off the year. we're going to be entering chapter 270. And I've been saying this for quite some time now. Rave Master ended at chapter 297. Ain't no way in hell Eden Zero making it to 545. Same chapter in the third. There is no way in hell to reaching there. And Hero did admit to that too. Is when it came down to Eden Zero, it was probably going to be a little bit longer than Rave. So in my opinion, I think we only got like maybe 30 chapters left in Eden Zero. Maybe 30. Which, no. 30, 31. Like ballparking it, I would say. And what we get moving forward, I mean, that's what we're always going to have to wait for. But again, you guys, that is all I have to say when it comes to this live stream discussion / review on Eden Zero Chapter 269, the last chapter of 2023. Again, overall rating, good plus, arguably great. And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Eden Zero or other Hero Mashima content. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.